Right now, there are thousands of seniors across this country who are receiving a Social Security check every month, and that check is smaller than it legally should be. Not because of any mistake they made, not because they did anything wrong, but simply because nobody ever told them about a benefit they were fully entitled to claim. And here is the part that is hardest to accept. The Social Security Administration will not send you a letter about it. They will not call you. They will not knock on your door and say, "By the way, there is more money available for you." It is entirely possible to live the rest of your retirement collecting less than you deserve and never know the difference. In this video, we are going to walk through the Social Security benefits that thousands of seniors are leaving on the table right now. Some of these are for widows and widowers. Some are for divorced spouses. Some are for people who are divorced for divorced spouses. Some are for people who spent years working and never realized that a different filing strategy could have put hundreds more into their pocket every single month. We will share real stories, we will break down who qualifies, and we will give you a clear, practical path forward. Stay right here, because by the end of this video, you may discover that you have been leaving money behind, and that it is not too late to do something about it. Let us begin with something that most people assume they already know. When your spouse passes away, Social Security automatically takes care of everything and starts sending you the right amount. That is what most people believe. That is what most people have been told, in one way or another, their entire lives. It is not always true. And for thousands of surviving spouses every single year, that assumption is costing them real money. Here is how survivor benefits actually work. When your spouse dies, if they were collecting Social Security, you, as the surviving spouse, may be eligible to receive up to 100% of what they were receiving, provided you have reached your full retirement age. If you claim survivor benefits before your full retirement age, the amount steps down. At age 60, you may receive as low as 71.5% of your deceased spouse's benefit. That percentage rises the longer you wait, up until your full retirement age. Now here is where so many people go wrong. They assume that because they are already receiving their own Social Security retirement benefit, they cannot also receive a survivor benefit. That is not how it works. What actually happens is this. Social Security compares your own benefit to the survivor benefit you are entitled to and pays you the higher of the two. You do not get both. But if your spouse's benefit was significantly larger than yours, you could be leaving a substantial monthly increase on the table simply by not applying. And unlike retirement benefits, survivor benefits cannot be applied for online. You must call the Social Security Administration at 1-800-7721-213 and schedule an appointment. That small detail, that you cannot do this on a website, means that people who are not aware of the process simply never start it. Let us talk about a woman named Margaret. Margaret was 71 years old and living in a small house in rural Tennessee when her husband of 43 years, Leonard, passed away after a long illness. Leonard had worked as a machinist for most of his career, and his Social Security benefit had been around $2,100 a month. Margaret, who had spent much of her married life raising their 4 children and working part-time, was collecting her own Social Security benefit of about $940 a month. After Leonard died, Margaret's neighbor helped her notify the Social Security Administration of his passing. Benefits stopped coming in Leonard's name, as expected. Margaret continued receiving her $940 check each month and assumed that was the correct arrangement. She was relieved to still be receiving anything at all. For almost 3 full years, that was how things stayed. Then a volunteer at her church's senior outreach program sat down with Margaret and walked her through her options. The volunteer discovered that Margaret had never been told, and had never thought to ask, whether she qualified for survivor benefits based on Leonard's record. She did qualify. She was well past 60 years old. Their marriage had lasted far more than the 9 months required, and Leonard's benefit had been substantially higher than her own. Margaret applied. After the review process, her monthly benefit was adjusted to reflect Leonard's higher earnings record. Her check went from $940 to over $2,000 a month. She sat in her kitchen and cried when she found out, not just because of the money, but because of the 3 years of smaller checks she could not get back. Margaret's story is not rare. It is repeated quietly across this country, in homes where grieving spouses assume the government has handled everything, and it has not. Now let us go deeper, because the survivor benefit picture has layers that most people never reach. One of the most important things to understand is the strategy around when to claim survivor benefits versus your own retirement benefit. These two benefit types operate on separate timelines and separate rules. That means you can claim one while delaying the other, and that flexibility is worth real money if you use it correctly. Here's an example of how this works. Say you are a widow at age 62. You are eligible to start collecting your own retirement benefit at a reduced rate. You are also eligible to start collecting a reduced survivor benefit. But here's the key. You do not have to claim both at the same time. If your deceased spouse had a strong earnings record, it may make sense to claim the reduced survivor benefit right away at 62, taking some income now, while letting your own retirement benefit grow until 70, when it would reach its maximum amount. Then at 70, you switch to your own larger retirement benefit. Alternatively, if your own benefit is strong, you might do the reverse. Take your reduced retirement benefit early and let the survivor benefit grow until your full retirement age before switching to the higher survivor amount. The Social Security Administration does not walk you through this analysis. There are no prompts, no comparison tools offered to you automatically. Most people simply call, say they want to apply for benefits, and receive whatever comes through the standard process. The result is often a permanently lower benefit because the opportunity for a more strategic approach was never explored. This is not a small difference. Over a 20-year retirement, even a difference of $300 per month is $72,000. Over 25 years, it is $90,000. So let us keep going. Because the survivor benefit is only one piece of what we are covering today, let us talk about the divorced spouse benefit. This one is possibly the most overlooked benefit in the entire Social Security system, and it affects a significant portion of older Americans who have been divorced, especially women who spent years out of the workforce during their marriages. Here are the rules as they stand. If you were married to someone for at least 10 years and you are currently divorced and unmarried, you may be eligible to receive Social Security benefits based on your ex-spouse's earnings record, even if your ex has remarried and even if your ex is not yet collecting benefits themselves. You must be at least 62 years old to begin receiving the divorced spouse benefit. The amount you can receive is up to 50% of your ex-spouse's full retirement benefit. And critically, your claiming this benefit has absolutely no effect on your ex-spouse. It does not reduce their check, it does not notify them, it does not require their cooperation or knowledge in any way. Many people are reluctant to pursue this benefit because they assume it will somehow affect their former spouse. It will not. And if your ex-spouse has passed away, the rules shift again. As a divorced surviving spouse, you may be eligible for up to 100% of your ex-spouse's benefit, the same as a current surviving spouse, provided you were married for at least 10 years and you are at least 60 years old. Stop and think about what that means for a moment. There are women across this country right now, women who were married for a decade or more, raised children, supported their husbands' careers, and then went through a painful divorce, who are collecting a small retirement benefit based on their own limited work record, when they may be entitled to significantly more based on a marriage they have not thought about in 30 years. The Social Security Administration does not reach out to let them know. Let us follow that thread into a story. A man named Gerald, a retired construction supervisor from Arizona, had been married twice. His first marriage lasted 11 years before ending in divorce in the 1980s. He remarried, worked steadily, and built up a strong Social Security earnings record. He passed away at 74. His first wife, Patricia, was now 71 years old and living on a modest fixed income in New Mexico. She had remarried briefly in her 40s, but had been divorced again for over 20 years. She was collecting Social Security based on her own record, about $860 a month, and assumed that because she and Gerald had been divorced for so long, she had no connection to his benefits. A financial counselor at a local nonprofit retirement center helped Patricia run through her situation. What came out of that conversation changed everything. Because Patricia had been divorced for over 20 years at the time of Gerald's death, she was unmarried. Because her first marriage had lasted more than 10 years, she met the eligibility requirement. Because she was over 60, she was old enough. She applied for divorced surviving spouse benefits based on Gerald's record. Her monthly benefit nearly doubled. Patricia later told the counselor that she had been eating one full meal a day to stretch her grocery budget. That changed. Now let us talk about something that may feel smaller, but is still money that thousands of families miss every year. It is the lump sum death payment, a one-time payment of $255 that the Social Security Administration makes upon the death of a worker. $255 is not a life-changing amount, but it is yours, and there is a strict deadline. You must apply for this payment. It is not automatic, and in most cases you must apply within 2 years of the worker's death. The payment goes to the surviving spouse who is living with the deceased, or to the surviving spouse who qualifies for survivor benefits in that month. If there is no surviving spouse, it may go to eligible children, but it does not come to you without an application. Families who are deep in grief and not thinking about paperwork miss this window regularly. It is worth knowing about now while the information can actually be used. Let us shift to another benefit that tends to fly completely under the radar, and this one directly affects people who are still working part-time in retirement and do not realize how it interacts with their Social Security check. If you are collecting Social Security benefits before your full retirement age, and you are also earning income from work, there is an earnings limit that affects your monthly payment. In 2026, that limit is $24,480 per year for people who are below their full retirement age. If you earn above that threshold, Social Security temporarily withholds $1 for every $2 you earn over the limit. Now here is what most people do not know, and this is where the hidden opportunity sits. Those withheld benefits are not gone forever. When you reach your full retirement age, the Social Security Administration recalculates your benefit upward to account for the months your payments were reduced or withheld. So if you worked and had benefits temporarily reduced in your early 60s, you should be receiving a slightly higher payment now, and many retirees do not realize that recalculation happened or whether it was done correctly. If you worked part-time in retirement between ages 62 and your full retirement age, this is worth a call to the SSA to verify that your benefit was properly recalculated. You may be owed more than you are currently receiving, and again, the system does not automatically alert you. Let us go to another area that deserves far more attention than it gets, the Social Security Fairness Act. At the beginning of 2024, a long overdue change became law that affected millions of public sector retirees who had spent their careers as teachers, police officers, firefighters, and government workers. For decades, two rules, known as the Windfall Elimination Provision and the Government Pension Offset, had significantly reduced Social Security benefits for anyone who also received a pension from a job that did not pay into Social Security. The WEP could reduce your Social Security retirement benefit by hundreds of dollars per month. The GPO could eliminate a spousal or survivor benefit almost entirely. With the repeal of those provisions, these retirees became eligible for larger monthly payments. On average, affected retirees saw increases of around $360 per month. That is over $4,000 a year. But here is the issue. Processing the updates for millions of affected beneficiaries takes time. If you were a public employee, if your spouse was a public employee, or if you are a surviving spouse of a public employee, and you have not yet seen a meaningful increase in your Social Security check, you should contact the SSA directly to confirm whether you are affected and whether your benefit has been properly updated. Do not assume the adjustment was made automatically. Now let us talk about something that sits at the edge of what most retirement content ever touches, and that is the question of Social Security benefits for dependent parents. Most people do not know this rule exists at all. If a worker who is paying into Social Security passes away, their surviving parents who are financially dependent on that worker for at least half of their support may be eligible for parent survivor benefits. The parent must be at least 62 years old, and the amount can be meaningful, up to 82.5% of the worker's full benefit for one parent or 75% each for two parents who both qualify. For families where an adult child was the primary financial support for aging parents, this benefit exists. Most families have never heard of it, most will never check, and so most will never receive it. The broader pattern here is worth naming directly. The Social Security system is enormous and complex. It was built over decades. The rules are layered. The SSA does a good job of processing the applications they receive, but they are not in the business of reaching out to every potentially eligible person and explaining their options. That responsibility falls to you. And the challenge is that you can only act on information you actually have, which is exactly why videos like this one, conversations with trusted advisors, and regular reviews of your Social Security account all matter so much. There is also a benefit category that many people in their late 70s and 80s may qualify for and have completely overlooked: Supplemental Security Income, known as SSI. Unlike regular Social Security retirement benefits, SSI is not based on your work history. It is based on financial need. If you are 65 or older and your income and assets fall below certain thresholds, you may qualify for SSI payments even if you have little or no Social Security work history. For some older Americans, particularly those who spent time working off the books, working in non-covered jobs, or who simply did not accumulate enough work credits for standard retirement benefits, SSI may be the financial safety net that keeps them above poverty. The maximum SSI payment for an individual in 2026 is modest, but it is real money, and it comes with additional eligibility for Medicaid in most states. Many seniors who qualify for SSI have never applied. Some assume they do not qualify, some are embarrassed, some simply never knew it existed, and so they go without. We have covered a lot of ground today. Survivor benefits for widows and widowers who may be receiving less than they are owed. Divorced spouse benefits for people who were married for at least 10 years and have never thought to check their eligibility. The lump sum death payment that families miss because no one tells them to apply. The recalculation of benefits for people who worked while collecting early. The Social Security Fairness Act increases for public employees that may not have been applied correctly yet. Parent survivor benefits that almost no one knows about, and SSI for low-income seniors who may qualify regardless of their work history. Every single one of these represents money that is legally available to American seniors, money that the SSA will pay to anyone who applies and qualifies. The only reason thousands of people are not receiving it right now is that they do not know to ask. And that brings us to the most important part of this video. What do you actually do next? The first step is to log into your My Social Security account at ssa.gov. If you do not have one, create one today. It takes about 15 minutes and gives you direct access to your earnings record, your benefit information, and your payment history. Look at it. Read it. If anything looks incorrect or incomplete, write it down. The second step is to think honestly about your life situation. Are you widowed? Have you been divorced after a marriage that lasted 10 years or more? Did your spouse work in the public sector as a teacher, a firefighter, a police officer, or a government worker? Did you work part-time in retirement and have benefits reduced? Are you or someone you know over 65 and living on a very limited income? Any one of these situations may open a door to a benefit you are not currently receiving. The third step is to call the Social Security Administration directly. The number is 1-800-772-1213. You can also visit a local SSA office in person. Appointments are required, but the conversations are free. When you call, do not just ask about your current benefit. Ask them to review whether you are eligible for any other benefit type based on your full situation. Be specific. Be persistent. The fourth step is to spread this information. Share this video with someone you care about, a neighbor, a sibling, a friend from church, because the person who needs to hear this most is probably not searching for it on YouTube right now. They are just quietly collecting less than they deserve, month after month, assuming that everything is fine. The Social Security system was built on a promise that if you paid in, or if you built a life alongside someone who did, you would be taken care of. That promise is still on the table, but you have to reach out and take it. Do not leave your money behind.